Subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon so that you know when live we go.
Dear students, we have a very important announcement for you. If you are looking for guidance for optional program, RAU'S IAS Bangalore Center is conducting its optional counseling on 24th of July. This will basically be talking about 4 optional subjects: geography, public administration, history and sociology. So please note the time, and there is a link in the description which you can utilize for the purpose of registering for these sessions. Now, as far as these sessions are concerned, optional orientation for geography will be taken by Indrajit sir, and this will be conducted on Sunday, 24th of July, 10 a.m. Now, these optional orientations are live online and you can attend these sessions online. Next is public administration. This will be taken by Anubhav Sharma sir, and the sessions timing are Sunday, 24th of July, 12:30 p.m. onwards. Next is history, which will be taught by Parampreet sir. The optional orientation will be taken on Sunday, 24th of July from 3 p.m. onwards. And sociology will be taught by Mr. Vikram Kaushal again on Sunday, 24th of July from 5:30 p.m. onwards. So if you are someone who is looking forward for optional orientation in these subjects, these sessions are must attend for you. Do not miss them. Enroll for these sessions through the link in the description.
Hello and welcome to RAU'S IAS DNS session. We are going to have a discussion on today's newspaper, The Hindu, Delhi edition dated 19th July 2022. We shall take up articles important for civil service examination and discuss them as per the demand of the exam. There is an editorial article on page number 6, Cart Before the Horse. This editorial article primarily is on the recent judgment of Supreme Court, where Supreme Court has batted for a new legislation on bail. Recently, Supreme Court has said that there is a pressing need for reform in the law relating to bail and has called on the government to consider framing a special legislation on the line of the bail law of United Kingdom. Supreme Court yet again has made the observation that more than two-thirds of the inmates are under trial, and hence the Supreme Court has underlined that the arrest is a draconian measure that needs to be used sparingly. The court has lamented on the current state of affair of indiscriminate arrest. An indiscriminate arrest is happening as per the Supreme Court's understanding. And what is leading to indiscriminate arrest? As per the Supreme Court's observation, magistrates are ignoring the basic jurisprudence in Indian legal system of bail, not jail. An indiscriminate arrest, this is a colonial mindset driven by CRPC, Code of Criminal Procedure, which was first drafted in 1882. But CRPC is still in use in Indian legal system, although with some amendments. Bail, as you understand, is setting free of the defendant by releasing him or her from the custody of law and entrusting him or her to the custody of his sureties, who are liable to produce him or appear for his trial at a specific date and time. So bail are given to people on sureties and in some cases with a bond, meaning a sum of amount has to be deposited before the court. The amount required for bail is judged by the judge. The law only mentions the minimum amount. For example, the bail amount in subordinate courts, even for petty offences which are punishable by less than 3 years, is said to be minimum of rupees 10,000. In case of bail before the High Court and Supreme Court, this amount usually exceeds rupees 30,000. But these amounts are rarely followed by magistrates and by judges. Recently, there was a case of 14-year-old minor. He was accused of cases of theft, but the bail amount set by a session court in Bhopal was rupees 2 lakh. Now here the thing is that such kind of bail amounts are considered as a form of injustice when a majority of citizens are landless with meager incomes. Without monetary assets, it becomes difficult for a sizable population to arrange the bail amount for release. That is why most of the under trials languishing in the jail, they are from poor socio-economic background. Supreme Court in 1978 in Motiram versus State of Madhya Pradesh. This judgment was led by Justice V.R. Krishna Iyer. Supreme Court in this case identified the issue of unreasonably high sureties as a human right issue. And hence, to avoid the human right violation, the court suggested that the surety amount be determined by considering relevant variables such as socioeconomic location of the accused person. Legally talking, bail in India comes from the CRPC, which does not define bail as such but categorizes offences as bailable and non bailable. You must remember that CRPC empowers magistrate to grant bail for bailable offences as a matter of right. You have to remember this for your prelims examination. Only under bailable offence, getting bail is a matter of right. In case of non-bailable offences, the magistrate would determine if the accused is fit to be released on bail or not. You would also know that non-bailable offences are also cognizable, which means that the police officer does not need any arrest warrant to arrest a person under cognizable offences. So non-bailable offence are also cognizable offence. Section 437 of the CRPC lays down that the accused does not have the right to bail in non-bailable offence. It is the discretion of the court to grant bail in case of non-bailable offence. And whenever there is discretionary power in the hands of civil servants or any arms of government, it must be exercised objectively in a non-partisan, impartial manner. To develop objectivity in the process, there must be certain guidelines. You must have heard that during lockdown, there have been many bizarre cases of granting bail, where the accused, as the part of bail bond, was asked to install non-Chinese LED TV in district hospitals. Some of them were asked to get registered as voluntary COVID-19 warrior, including giving donations for COVID-19 relief funds. Now, discretionary power cannot be exercised in such arbitrary manner. Otherwise, the trust of people in the justice delivery system will be eroded. And when the trust is eroded, the social capital is gone. And without social capital, it is impossible for the government to take on the process of governance. That is why certain guidelines are required, and Supreme Court actually has pitched for a law instead. Supreme Court in the judgment has made a special mention of the Bail Act of United Kingdom. The Bail Act of United Kingdom lays down the procedure for granting bail, and this will deal with the discretionary power issue of the judges in the process of granting bail. The Act of United Kingdom recognizes right to get bail as a general right. The law has been designed with one of the goal to reduce the size of the inmate population. And the law also has a provision of ensuring legal aid for defendants. The legal system works with the presumption of granting bail. And if the bail has not to be given, and there are certain exceptions given in the law, then the burden of proving the situation not amenable for giving bail is on the justice delivery system. Here in India, the defendant has to prove will not be harmful in the justice delivery system. But there, getting bail is a general right, and if the bail has not to be given, then the prosecution must show the grounds exist for believing that the defendant on bail would not surrender to custody or would commit an offense while on bail or would interfere with the witnesses or otherwise obstruct the course of justice. So because of these provisions of the law of having a procedure of declaring getting bail as a general right, incorporating the principle of presumption of bail in the legal jurisprudence, and putting the burden of showing that granting bail will be detrimental to the justice delivery process on the system. The Bail Act of United Kingdom acts as a model law that the Supreme Court of India want to use as a template. Supreme Court has given many reasons in the recent judgment as to why we need a law on bail. First of all, the court has made it very clear that the issue of arrest is linked with the issue of fundamental liberty. So arresting a person and not granting bail in itself is a fundamental issue concerning liberty. Liberty is a fundamental promise given to the citizen of India by the Constitution in the preamble. In the previous DNS, we had a very elaborate discussion as to how liberty is important in the overall development of the nation and individuals. So according to Supreme Court, this argument alone is sufficient to do something about the process of bail. Supreme Court also has said that uniformity and certainty in the decision of the court are the foundation of judicial dispensation. There must be uniformity in the way that different cases are taken up by different courts of the same court, meaning the different benches of the same court. Supreme Court has highlighted that different magistrates do not necessarily exercise their discretionary powers uniformly, but the principle should be that persons accused with the same offense shall never be treated differently by different benches of the same court, because such an action would abridge Article 14 and Article 15 of the Constitution, and there will be no equality before the law. You must also take note that law commissions in its various reports, for example in 268th report, has highlighted the problem where it has become the norm for the rich and powerful to get bail with ease while others keep languishing in the prison. And this is one of the main reasons why 67% of the current population, the current prison population, is made up of under trials, because there is great inconsistency in the process of granting bail. Equality before the law is a fundamental principle of Constitution of India. And for this, there must be a law guiding the process of granting bail. Equality is also considered as a fundamental principle for justice. When there is no sense of equality, there is no sense of justice. Supreme Court also has raised the issue of indiscriminate arrest. The court has noted that the culture of too many arrests, especially for non-cognizable offences, is unwarranted. Supreme Court, remember, also has emphasized that even in case of cognizable offences, arrest is not mandatory and the arrest must be necessitated, meaning there must be a necessity to arrest an accused. And that necessity is to prevent the committing of any further offense. Or maybe there's a fear that the accused will interfere in the process of investigation or tamper with the evidence. Only such grounds must necessitate the arrest. Otherwise, in both non-cognizable and in cognizable offences, arrest must not be the norm. Supreme Court has very blatantly said that the lower courts must satisfy these conditions and any non-compliance would entitle the accused for grant of bail. There are already many constitutional provisions for safeguard against indiscriminate arrest. For example, Article 20 provides for protection against indiscriminate arrest by stating that no person shall be convicted of any offense except for violation of the law in force at the time, and the person shall not be subjected to any penalty greater than which might have been inflicted under the law in force at that time of the commission of offense. The proportionality of punishment. This has been very well recognized in the Indian legal jurisprudence and under Article 20 of Indian Constitution. Similarly, Article 21. Article 21 provides for protection of life and personal liberty. Detention of any individual infringes on the right to life and liberty guaranteed under Article 21 of our Constitution. Similarly, Article 22. This provides for protection against arrest and detention. And the first part of Article 22 gives various kinds of rights to citizens. For example, right to be informed on the ground of arrest. One of the conditions mentioned in Article 22 is that the accused will have right to be produced before a magistrate within 24 hours. And he or she will have the right to be released after 24 hours unless the magistrate authorizes further detention. So, right to bail as a general right is implicit in Article 22. But the spirit of this article is never followed. But the spirit of this article is not followed by the legal system. So for these reasons, the call of the Supreme Court is very apt to have a law to guide the process of bail. But you know that we are ingenious people and we will find ways and means to circumvent the law. You are also aware that law floats on the sea of ethics. So only having law will not be sufficient. There has to be ethical and administrative preparation to implement the law in the letter and spirit. There has been suggestion that social workers and psychologists, they must be included in the criminal justice system. There are also suggestions of making the police system inclusive, bringing people from different sections of society so that indiscriminate arrest does not happen. There must also be a detailed report made on the rate of conviction of police officials in the cases they violate the law, or a mechanism of auditing of non-compliance of law by the police officials. The police must be cautioned from the highest authority against the needless arrest, and the magistrates They must be trained against mechanical remand orders. This is an editorial article from page number 6, Growth and Welfare. This article has been written in the background of recent comments from the Prime Minister raising question on the model of development, the idea of justice that we must follow. The Prime Minister has recently inaugurated some infrastructural projects. For example, there was an airport inauguration done by the PM at Devghar in Jharkhand. He also has made certain comments regarding the Bundelkhand Expressway. He has put forward his opinion that these infrastructure projects and development through these infrastructure projects, they would lead to true social justice. And he has very strongly criticized other models that traditionally has been understood as the idea of justice. For example, free food, free electricity, job guarantees, sometimes cash doles. So we will begin our discussion first of all understanding as to why justice is so important in our society. Then we shall discuss some of popular ideas of justice. And then we will come to what satirically the newspaper has put forward, development as justice theory. The newspaper article says that the PM has advanced his own development as justice theory. So we shall look into as to how development, and development here is referring to infrastructural development. So we shall discuss as to how infrastructural development can lead to social justice. Beginning from the crucial question, why justice is important in our society. See, justice, first of all, is a quintessential value required for any peaceful and stable society. In the Constitution, in the preamble, there are many values mentioned, like, for example, justice, equality, fraternity, liberty. But it is not a matter of chance, but it is by design that justice is the first value mentioned in the preamble. Justice is the most fundamental promise of the Constitution to the citizens of India. Aristotle has said that it is in justice that the ordering of a society is centered. Unless there is sense of justice, people are not going to have sense of equality. Amartya Sen very famously said, I believe that virtually all the problems in the world come from inequality of one kind or another. Without justice, there is no sense of equality. And unless there is sense of equality, people are not going to cooperate with each other. Other values mentioned in the preamble, for instance, fraternity cannot fructify. People are not going to have fraternity. They are not going to have social cohesion, bonding, cooperation unless they feel that they have been treated equally at par with others by the sovereign authority. Unless there is sense of equality, people are not going to have any kind of mutual coexistence. Rather, there will be competition, conflict, confrontation, and even war. So, peace will be elusive unless justice is done. Martin Luther King has said, true peace is not merely the absence of tension, it is the presence of justice. So, justice is quintessential, it is prerequisite for an organized, peaceful society. It also forms part of your GS paper too. Now, there are many ideas of justice. There is a theory of distributive justice. This was first originally put forward by Aristotle. According to this concept, there must be fair distribution of benefit and burden. For example, when mining is done by big mining companies, the benefit, the revenue goes to the company. But the burden of the mining activity, pollution, air pollution, water pollution, noise pollution, that is borne by the local people. So it is injustice to the local people. That is why District Mineral Fund has been established, where the part of the revenue that goes to the mining companies that will be put in the fund for the welfare of people. So there must be fair distribution of benefit and burden. This is one idea of justice. John Rawls had his own idea of justice. According to his idea of justice, there must be extensive liberty to every member of society. Extensive liberty along with equal opportunity, meaning the most essential goods, the primary goods, should be open to all members of society. If these two things are ensured, and even if there is competition and because of that inequality, even then justice is served. Amartya Sen had his own idea of social justice where he focused from outcomes to opportunities. The welfare-based justice system is outcome-based system where you see that how many people are poor, how many go to school, how many have jobs and things like that. But Amartya Sen argued that different people have different conversion factors. Conversion factor for converting the resources at their disposal into their welfare. For example, suppose the government is giving loan and hand-holding and other supports under Startup India mission. But an uneducated person who has not gone even through the primary schooling, he won't be able to take such benefits. Because of lower capability, his conversion factor is very low. So the focus should be on developing capabilities of people so that they increase their conversion factor. If people are made capable, then justice is served. Nozick, he had his own idea of justice. He argued that most of the justice theory and ideas of justice, they are outcome based. But his argument was outcomes are the result of process. So if justice has to be served, it has to be ensured that the process is fair. So rather than focusing on the outcome of the process, we must focus on fairness of the process itself. If the process is fair, suppose there has to be fund allocation done by various departments of the government and that has been done objectively, fairly, then even if the outcome is inequality is persisting, then still the justice will be said to be served. The process of resource allocation, that should be bias free. That must be fair. For example, you go to college, but everyone doesn't get the same kind of placement. They don't get the same remuneration. But the process of teaching in the college, that is fair to everyone. So the system is just there. Even if the outcome doesn't bring equality, still if the process is fair, justice is served. These are some of the popular ideas of justice. Now we'll particularly talk about development as justice. Last year, Economic Survey also has taken a topic similar to this, where the argument was, where should the government focus? Should the focus be to increase the size of the GDP or should the focus be to remove poverty? There, the Economic Survey has taken unambiguously clear stand that the focus of the government should be to increase the size of the GDP. And with the increase in the size of the GDP, per capita income will automatically increase. And with the increase of per capita income, the welfare to people will happen. Now here, the scenario is similar. Development, inherently meaning infrastructure development, will give economic opportunities to people. They will act as primary goods. And the accessibility to infrastructure is to everyone. So it will lead to equal opportunities. So it can also act as a tool to serve justice. See, infrastructure, first of all, does not only mean physical infrastructure, like roads, rails, airports, ports. Infrastructure also has a dimension of social infrastructure, including education, health, sanitation, and digital infrastructure. When government invests in infrastructure, it improves connectivity. Access to basic services like health, education, banking, etc. improves. And all these enhances the job opportunities. Infrastructure removes the bottlenecks in economy. It improves logistics. It improves the backward and forward linkage. It makes the entire system more efficient. So we get improved socio-economic outcomes. And all these have very strong linkage and inevitably leads to inclusive growth and development. And this is nothing but social justice. The output of infrastructure sectors such as power, water, transport, etc., they are used as input for production in directly productive sectors like agriculture, manufacturing. There is a very close association of infrastructure and GDP growth. As per the World Bank numbers, 1% growth in infrastructure, the per capita GDP also increases by 1%. The studies done by World Bank also has shown that 20% sustained increase in public investment in infrastructure results in acceleration of real growth by 1.8%. Infrastructure can address various constraints in achieving inclusive growth and play a key role in all dimensions of sustainable development. In economy, in environment, in society, everywhere. You see, agriculture has basically three constraints. They are high input cost, low productivity, and the lower prices that the farmer fetch for their produce. And infrastructure will address all these three. By infrastructure, I mean all three: physical infrastructure, digital infrastructure, and social infrastructure. For example, greater economic integration of rural market with rest of India as well as with the world will reduce the transportation cost. It will reduce the post-harvest losses. It will give fillip to ENAM. It will obviously boost export. MSME sector in India contributes 28% to GDP, 45% of manufacturing output. Infrastructure sector will enable MSME to become competitive. It will reduce their logistic cost. It will boost their exports. For example, Gati Shakti Master Plan, it is planned that it will provide multimodal logistic connectivity to MSME clusters. This will surely boost their productivity. Expenditure on social infrastructure in India is very poor. We spend only 3% of GDP on education, only 1.5% of GDP on health. But social infrastructure that is being built through Ayushman Bharat, that will lead to health and wellness of people. Infrastructure can accelerate the rural transformation. It has been estimated that 10% increase in the broadband penetration can lead to 1% increase in the rural GDP. SDG 9. It particularly refers to building resilient infrastructure. And as such, if you see all SDG goals, they are underpinned by infrastructural development. Infrastructure lies at the core of realization of all SDGs. And SDGs are designed to bring justice in society. There is an explainer article in today's newspaper, the Pakistan and the IMF talks, what lies ahead. The article discusses in quite detail as to what's going on between Pakistan and IMF, what are the agreements they are coming to concerning extended fund facility. It also discusses the internal programs and policies of Pakistan, which is not at all of any interest to us, particularly for UPSC exam. Here, for the purpose of your prelims examination, we'll have a very short discussion on extended fund facility. See, when a country faces serious medium-term balance of payment problem because of the structural weakness that requires time to address, then the IMF can assist through extended fund facility. Although it may be the case that even because of slow growth and not necessarily because of balance of payment problem, still the IMF can assist a country within the framework of extended fund facility because there is a structural weakness in the economy. IMF has other kind of arrangement for financial help to the nation. For example, one such arrangement is called as the standby arrangement. In standby arrangement, the engagement of IMF with a particular nation is for short term. The repayment of loan by the nation is also within a smaller period of time. But compared to this kind of assistance, under extended fund facility, the engagement of IMF with a nation is for longer period. Because as you understand, this help is coming from IMF because the nation is having structural weakness. And to overcome structural weakness, any nation will require some considerable period of time. So they have to take structural reform. And to have structural reform or structural adjustments, time is given to the nation. So IMF assistance is given for a period of around 4 years. And whatever assistance comes in the time of 4 years, it has to be repaid back in a time duration of between 4 to 10 years. In standby arrangement, the repayment of loan has to be given within 5 years. As is the practice by IMF in any kind of facility that IMF provides that is concerned with balance of payment problem. There's a strong focus on structural adjustment in the economy. Any country, if it is taking assistance under extended fund facility, it commits to undertake policies to overcome economic and structural problems. The particular adjustment that a nation has to take that is negotiated between the nation and the officials of IMF. But generally it pertains to the condition of controlling inflation, fiscal deficit, control on subsidy, and other macroeconomic stability parameters like import cover and other such things. IMF also assists in formulating policies and programs for the nation, and the IMF Executive Board regularly assess the program performance, and they can also suggest improvement or adjustment to adapt to economic developments. As is the case with all other IMF lending, the size of borrowing under extended fund facility is guided by countries' financial need and their inherent capacity to repay, and the past track record and the present dues with the IMF. In case of extended fund facility, generally it is 145% of countries' IMF quota. This is the annual limit, and the cumulative limit throughout the period of time is 435% of its IMF quota.